It's Umo Akinshalure here. I'm one of the counselors from Bridge Clinic. As you probably already know, we are in the season of celebrations. It is our 25th year anniversary this year, and we're celebrating this in a big way. As part of our celebrations, we are telling our stories. We are telling about some of the people who have had treatments with us, their journey, and where they are today. And in line with that, I have the privilege of introducing to you one of our premier clients. She has a lot to tell you about her journey, from where she was to where she is today. Please allow me to introduce to you Mrs. Ifeoluwa Okusonya. Mrs. Okusonya, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, madam.
I'm so glad you were able to make our time to come join us to tell us about your experience with us in Bridge Clinic.
Exactly. It's my pleasure.
Before you tell us about your experience, I would like to know, before you thought about coming to Bridge Clinic at all, a lot was happening, I guess.
Definitely.
So it would be my assumption that you'd been married and you've been trying to have a baby.
Sure.
How long did that take you, that process of waiting?
Well, the number of years wasn't all that much.
Okay.
But due to the circumstances of the family I found myself, it was longer. It was longer than the counting of the years.
Okay.
Literally, it took me like 5 years.
Okay.
But what made it to be longer than necessary was that I married to an only child.
Wow.
Only child.
Pressure.
Good. He married late.
Okay.
He's an only child. And I was living with mother-in-law from day one. So you could imagine what the pressure would be like.
Yes, I can.
My mother-in-law was a kind of elite person, and she too was old then, because before I could get my first child, she was already 75. So she saw her first child at the age of 75. So which means we married when she was 70. Thereabout. So you can imagine a mother whom had not even set her eyes on grandchild. The son eventually got married when she was 70. Then we now entered into the journey of looking for the fruit of the womb. So the pressure was so much that my 5 years was like 20 years.
Yeah.
Because everything was on baby all the time.
So the timing for everybody else made it really intense for you.
Sure.
I can only imagine the details, because with that intense pressure coming from the desire, to have a grandchild, I'm told that this desire starts around about 55, 60. In a woman that age, they really start to have this inordinate desire. I mean, it's just overwhelming. It's just too much to have a grandchild, and they can almost do anything if they have children, to start producing these grandchildren that they so desire. So in 5 years, nothing had happened yet in terms of you actually having a child. So at what point did you consider coming to Bridge Clinic?
Good.
Before then, what had you been trying?
Good. Well, normally for every woman who tries to look for to conceive, let me put it that way. I've been trying, you do praying aspect and medical aspect. But at a point, we tried adoption.
Okay.
Then in Lagos State, we paid, I think then it was just 120,000. We paid the money, I applied. In fact, I was the one putting on pressure on them at the department here in Lagos that I needed baby, especially that year to do Christmas with, because the pressure was so much on my shoulder. As at that time, But in the process of waiting for that, we met up with all the requirements. They wanted to come for interview, to inspect, sorry, we did the interview. They wanted to come for inspection of our home. We met up with all the requirements. But in the process, I could remember that I requested for twins from them. I pleaded and I wrote it there that they should please, I will be happy if I could get twins, newborn babies, that they should give me so that such a baby or babies will see me as their mother. They said, okay, that it hadn't gotten to my point as at that time. But to God be the glory, in between, we had the decision of coming to Breed Clinic, and the treatment started. As at the time, it would be my point at the Ministry of Youth Service or something, I've forgotten. When the day they called me, let me just to cut the story short. The day I was called to come for baby selection, that they had some babies on ground that should come for any of my choice. I was already 6 months pregnant after the treatment at the Breed Clinic there. So that day, in fact, I didn't even know how the news met me. I could remember I was seated in my sitting room watching TV. The call came in. Then, hello, is that Mrs. Ifeoluwa Okusanya? I said, yes. May I know you, please? The person introduced himself, said, we are glad to tell you that we have some babies on ground now, newborn. So perhaps you come over, or are you still waiting for the twins? I said, I'm glad to tell you that I'm 6 months in.
Wow.
In fact, that day was another
brilliant.
joyful day to me. That, wow, Lord, I thank you.
Wow, that was fantastic. Honestly, to something you've waited for, and you just wanted children, now you had your own child baking and waiting to be taken out of the oven.
The anxiety then was so high.
The anxiety. So that was at least 13 or thereabout years ago, about 13 years ago, when all of this was happening. And at that time, IVF was nothing new per se. It had been heard of. People had already had children, and people were already embracing. Or did you find any, should I call it stigmatization? Did you find that you didn't want to tell people about it, and did you have resistance? How was it? How was the experience before you actually commenced the treatment? Did you hear negative stories?
Yes, I did. There were so many negative stories at that time.
About IVF?
About IVF.
Okay.
They would tell us that it's 50-50.
Okay.
But when I wanted to start my treatment, that was 2011, I told Dr. Abiara then, I said, Madam, don't start the treatment yet with me. She was like, she just dropped a pen on the table. She was like, why? That she was hearing such for the first time from somebody who really wants to go. I said, you know what, let me go and settle my matter with God first. I will come back. He said, wow. I said, yes. Okay, then I said, after the Shiloh program, I will come back. So I went and I told God, I said, God, they said this thing doesn't always come positive, on people at the first time. But I want mine to be different. I want my story to be heard all over. Just make this my first attempt, a positive one for me. And to the glory of God, I started my treatment in late December, January, February. I think I took in February, yes. It was confirmed in February that I was pregnant. Then I had the child in October. And as God will crown all my efforts as well, I had a baby in the month of my mother-in-law's birthday.
Wow.
So all the birthday gifts I've been giving her, which she will reject, she will throw away. So that year, I just went to her, I knelt down, as a Yoruba girl. Good morning, Grandma. Ekaroma. I don't have any birthday gift to give you this year. This is your birthday gift. I just handed the baby over to her. She looked at the baby, she looked at me, she cried and started praying.
Wow.
Because she, as at that time, she was 75.
Yes.
Like I said earlier on, she was like, oh, so at last, I will see my grandchild. The pressure was so much.
I can imagine.
Before that time, the pressure was so much.
I can just imagine.
The pressure was so much. But I thank God. I wasn't ashamed to tell anybody. Immediately I heard her, I started telling people.
Yes.
I had this my pregnancy. In fact, I've been